Hey everybody, welcome back. I've got a great video to share with you guys today. I'm really excited about this new model and I can't wait to tell you all about this thing. First though, I've got something that I received in the mail from Alex. Alex is one of our viewers. He watches all of our videos. Sent me a little appreciation letter. He loves all that I've done, all the things he's learned from us, and he sent me this piece of artwork that he created from one of our thumbnails, and I thought it was really cool. And I'm going to hang this up somewhere in my office. Thank you, Alex, for sending that. And I get these, every few weeks I'll get some kind of an email or a letter or something thanking us for what we do. And I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much. Now, let's talk about the new LGK 2.4 model. Why is it the 2.4 model? These are the 2.0 drivers, which is the latest version of this wideband driver that we have. And as you can see from this speaker that I've got setting up on something to make it tall enough where you guys can see it, there's 4 woofers below. So wideband driver up top, 4 woofers below covering the bottom end. They're crossing at around 360, 370 hertz range, somewhere in there. And these things turned out really, really good. We've been burning them in here and set them up and listening to them with the servo subs. And wow. So let me tell you about these things. Wide coverage range from single driver. So no phase shifts, no time arrival issues. We've got minimal amount of surface reflection around this thing, so it becomes really transparent very quickly. Also, little bonus here, it's got a rear-firing LGK driver on the back side. And we've got a capacitor in line with this thing, so it minimizes its range. So it's not allowed to play down into a low enough frequency range for those wavelengths to wrap around the cabinet and become omnidirectional, which would cancel out the on-axis response from the front driver. And you see this sometimes. A lot of guys will put a wideband driver on each side, and what happens is it creates a big hole in the response where this one wraps around and is coming at you from the back side when it gets into an omni range, and it arrives out of phase from the front driver. And you can calculate it basically by the length of the offset, and you can see a big hole right at that frequency. These don't have that problem because there's a capacitor in line with this. It's only playing from here forward. It's not allowed to play down into that omni range. So what happens is it creates that airy openness that you typically only get from an open baffle speaker. You get it in this thing in spades. This thing is really, really three-dimensional. I mean, just close your eyes. There's a sound stage that goes beyond the speakers, left and right, deep and layered, and it's phenomenal. And I have to say, I've said this before, this little driver covers the vocal region as good as anything I've ever worked on or heard or listened to or anything. I mean, it rivals the big NX over here that are full open baffle. It's that good. It really does sound that great. So these are ideal for small theater systems. They are, and it's a sealed box, so it's designed to be used with a sub. 3 dB is going to be upper 60s, somewhere in that range. So easy with a sealed box to dial it in with a sub and not get a lot of room boom. You're not going to get a bunch of gain from like you would from a ported speaker. So it's got a lot going for it in that regard. Great for, like I said, small home theater systems. We've got center channels and smaller versions of this. You can use as surrounds. And it's phenomenal for 2-channel for just a small room or a room that isn't loaded with a bunch of room treatment. I have a lot of you guys out there who have listening rooms that double as your living room and things like that, and you don't want to load it with room treatment. And you do leave some things on the table when you have an untreated room because you have a lot of reflections going everywhere. This is a good speaker for those applications because it's more of a controlled dispersion. As you get off axis on a wideband driver, the top end starts to drop off a lot faster than it does a dome tweeter. So it's a little more forgiving. Let's look at the measured responses on this thing. First, let's look at the crossover response, and you can kind of see where it's crossing there. And you'll notice there's still a little peak at the very top end. And we've left that there on this model, the 2.2 and the 2.1 models, but on the little desktop version that's just only a single LGK 2.0, we notched that out and made it a flat response. Reason being is with the desktop model, these speakers are sitting right in front of you, aimed at your head. We wanted to have a smooth response across the board. With the rest of these models, if you turn it off axis just a little bit, a lot of that top end starts to drop off, and it balances it right out. So it's really way up there, upper harmonics. Not really seeing a problem with it. It sounds a little better for us to leave it there and allow you to create that flat response by adjusting the toe in a little bit. And it gives it a little more of an airy and open sound to have those upper harmonics a little more present there. So let's look at the on-axis frequency response. You'll see it's really smooth. I mean, the accuracy that where you need it is there. It's like plus or minus a half a dB all the way across, so super accurate. If you look at the horizontal off-axis, you can see how it starts to drop off as you get 10 and 20 degrees off-axis. It drops off and creates a pretty flat response. If we look at, now this is really cool, the vertical off-axis going up and vertical off-axis going down. That means we're looking at putting the microphone in line with this and then moving the microphone down at 1 meter or moving the microphone up at 1 meter. Normally when we do this, you see a time arrival issue between a tweeter and the mid-bass driver, or tweeter and the woofer. And as you change the time arrival, it creates holes in the response. So a lot of speakers that come in, we see in the vertical off-axis, we see big holes in the response as the drivers become out of phase. You don't get that with these. As you move up or down, this driver is covering a wide band. The crossover point is so low that those wavelengths are really long, so even though you're creating a time arrival difference, it's barely a few degrees of phase rotation because the wavelengths down there around 300 hertz and lower are just so long. So we don't see a cancellation that way. So the response that you get in the vertical and the horizontal, it's really consistent in all directions. Makes it great for coverage area, in a room. It minimizes ceiling reflections and things like that in the very top octaves. And the ceiling reflection and floor reflection that you get is going to be the same as the on-axis response, so it's very balanced in all directions. If you look at the impedance, you'll see it's really high at the bottom end. We've run all these drivers in series to match the sensitivities, so the woofers aren't going to see that much power, so you can put a lot of juice to these things, and just from the increase in impedance alone, you're not going to overdrive these little drivers like you think you would from just sealed 5-inch woofers. They'll handle pretty good amount of power. Now here's my favorite part. Looking at the spectral decay, you'll see that thing is just really clean all the way across. It dissipates that stored energy really fast, especially even down in the low frequency ranges. We typically see as you go down in lower frequency ranges, the woofers become larger and they have a little more stored energy. These things just have none. They just dissipate that energy immediately, and they're really, really fast. So we feel like for a lot of applications out there, these are almost unbeatable for what they bring to the table. I mean, they really, really are. They're that good in how they sound, and they're perfect for those applications. Obviously, they're not the end-all, be-all. They're not going to do what a pair of Extremes do. They're not designed to be. They're designed for a specific application, just like the little desktop speakers. These are for smaller rooms, lower SPL level requirements, but situations where they're going to bring to the table soundstage layering and the size of a soundstage that you probably wouldn't have gotten from other types of speakers. So they really, really excel in the areas where they're designed to excel. And I'm really, really proud of these things. Price-wise, they're crazy inexpensive. There's not a lot of parts involved in the crossovers on these things, and we're only pricing out these little 5-inch woofers at $20 a piece. I bought them in a big buyout. I got a bunch of them, and this is the perfect application for these things. So they're ideal for the way we're using them, and they're cheap. $651 for the whole kit. That's to build out a pair of these things, and that includes everything you need to build these things out minus the cabinets. Now, if you want cabinets, Killian has cut these things out for you guys. They're all CNC cut. That means all these things just drop straight in. The driver on the back, all the braces fit all inside. Everything's perfect. Just glue the thing up. Complete flat pack, $325. And if you want it assembled, that's an MDF box that's completely assembled. All you got to do is veneer it or paint it or do whatever you want with it. $425. Or if you want an LGK 2.4 finished cabinets with a base that's really nice, by the way, veneered in your choice of veneers, you're looking at $825 for finished cabinets. So you can buy these things and build them out for not a lot of money and reach really high levels of performance within some areas. I mean, this is one of those speakers where you just got to hear it to really realize just how good it is. Everybody that's heard these have just kind of taken a step back and said, whoa, they shouldn't be that good. They're just that great in, all the areas that I've already told you. So if this is something that fits for your application, jump on these things, man. You'll be really, really happy with them. That's it for this video, and I hope you guys appreciate it. I appreciate all of you guys watching. Please subscribe if you haven't, and hopefully you guys will see me again in the next video. See ya.